Hello. Welcome, everyone, to the Teaching Kitchen at Kitchen Sink. My name is Jenna Taylor. I'm a food services manager here in Mountain View, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. This Teaching Kitchen is special. It was the first of its kind at Google. Since it opened, we've built another one in Pittsburgh. We're planning for Seattle, Kirkland, New York, hopefully others. The food program at Google invests in these spaces because food literacy and engagement are really at the heart of our mission, which is ultimately to enable Googlers to be at their best. So yes, we provide you with great food, but it's also important to us that we empower you with the knowledge and skills necessary to make delicious, nutritious food at home and in your communities. Because really, we believe that cooking together builds community, it enables collaboration, and it gives you another way to be creative and innovative. The bonus is spaces like this also give us a place to welcome experts from the culinary industry. So today, we are very privileged to have Zagat guest chef Scott Daigre with us. Join me in welcoming him, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Scott has a very diverse background. He's a landscape designer, a farmer, an avid gardener. He's a chef, and now author of Tomatomania, which I'm sure you're all as excited as I am about. He started out really with the seedling sale, wildly popular in Southern California, same name. Still run that today.
Yes, sure.
Only now he's further sharing his passion by coming out with the book Tomatomania. It's really supposed to be a fun and beautiful guide to growing, preparing, cooking tomatoes, all things summertime and deliciousness. So I can't wait to hear more about it.
Thank you.
Scott?
Thank you. Thanks again, everybody. Yeah, there's nothing better than being in a room with a bunch of Tomatomaniacs. You know, what can I tell you? And it's nice to meet so many of you out this morning, out in the growglers out there in the gardens. It's an amazing thing to be able to grow, to eat what you grow, and then get inspired by eating and grow more things, and you know, there you are. We did this book to inspire with easy things. That's really, this is not a super complicated situation. It really isn't. It's an easy thing that hopefully you can take cues from your garden. You'll see we have a few riffs, a few variations on what we're going to do. And the recipe that we're looking at today is called New Tomatoes Rockefeller. I grew up in Louisiana, so the first dish I ever remember was Oysters Rockefeller from Antoine's in New Orleans. Have you ever been? Yeah. Go, put it on your list right now. Enter it in your phones. That was a very key thing for me. It was something I remember from being this big. And when we put these together, I said, geez, I really like that, and it's my first memory. What can we do with tomatoes? So Jen Garvey, my co-author, and I put together a New Tomatoes Rockefeller, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So look forward to showing you this. We'll go through some steps. Thanks ahead of time to the wonderful staff and chefs here who have taken good care of me and made this easy to do. And we'll give you the go round. You know what it all begins with, obviously? Tomatoes. Okay? No two ways about that. It begins with tomatoes. But the thing about it is, you know, as you well know probably, you can get lots of different kinds of tomatoes that you might grow in your garden or find at anywhere with the nursery if you're growing it, the grocery store if you're buying them. So it depends. The beginnings of this recipe start with what tomatoes we're going to use. If you're using a big fat tomato like this, we're putting these in the oven and we're basically going to roast them like a roasted bell pepper. So if you've got a big soft flat heirloom like this, it's not going to hold up so well. You have to be careful about that, especially if it's overripe. Overripe ones are just going to be really flat when you get them out of the oven, because they're just going to sink away. And conversely, if you buy something at the store, you're familiar with that number, aren't you? You're familiar with that guy, the round kind of pellet-sized hard thing that we find in the stores most of the year, unfortunately, and don't grow in our own gardens. But this is quite useful for us, and we're going to do a combination today because it works for us in the kitchen, and we'll talk about that as we go. The first thing that you want to do is you want to create the boat that you're going to put this whole item in. Again, it could be a large boat, it could be a small boat. You could even do these with cherries if you got really careful. But the first thing that I've done here with these is I'm going to scoop them out. And what I get when I find this. The book tells you to scoop these out and use the innards. When you use this from the grocery store and you get this really hard core, it's really not very good for you or good to you, and it's really hard to work with. So I'm going to totally cheat today because I want to use something that I bought at the store for its firmness, and I want to use some beautiful heirloom tomatoes over here for the for the actual stuffing that we're going to eat, or most of the stuffing that we're going to eat. When you scrape out a tomato, you're obviously going to take out all the seeds, and you're going to take out as much of the juice as you can. You want to set these face down. You can set them anywhere, right? Set them face down and let them drain just a little bit, so you get some of that moisture out there. And what you'll also have to choose as you go through this is where you cut this tomato, where you cut it in half. You can make them super flat and small, so a little bitty appetizer, like a smaller appetizer kind of a thing, or just a little bitty taste. Or if you get these big ones, you just take off that top level, and you've got quite a hefty monster there that you can fill with all this good stuff that we're gonna add. So again, you continue to do as many as you want. The recipe that we're working with in this book makes 8 to 10 servings, which would be 8 to 10 finished halves, or 2/3, or whatever it is you want to do. After you've drained those, and I don't have time to fully drain them today, we've got the oven set at 400 degrees. That's where you start. Good round number. And I'm going to put these in there for 6 to 8 minutes. Don't let me forget, okay? That would be terrible. But anyway, you're going to put them in the oven, and you're just going to let those heat up just a little bit and soften while we move on to the next part of what we're doing. The dressing, it begins here. Do you know what fennel is? You know what fennel is? Beautiful, frothy kind of a plant, good bug attractant, really good for you gardeners out there if you want to get a good, healthy garden. We're going to start with a teaspoon of fennel seed, this whole fennel seed, all right? And if you've ever worked with, well, it's just like getting ground fennel in a canister or in a little glass bottle. It's kind of like grabbing the tomato from the grocery store rather than out of your backyard. If you get a whole fennel seed, you have the advantage of being able to crush it and getting all those really wonderful flavors immediately escaping from the seed. So you have an opportunity to do a little more with it. This is a hot. They tell me this thing is hot. I don't really believe that because there's no fire involved, but they tell me it's very hot. So we're moving on that. Now, I don't know if you can smell it, but I can already smell it. And all we're doing is we're going to shake this around for a minute or two, and we're going to toast these slightly. And what you're doing is you're coaxing a little flavor out there and out of there. And then can you see that smoke coming out of there? Can you see it? Watch it closely. Watch closely. I'm about to do a magic trick. There it goes. You can see it start to toast. And you really are just going to do this for a couple minutes at the most. They won't change color. They might darken just a little bit. But what are you doing? You're just creating something kind of cool and different. For those of you who don't cook a lot, this is kind of an easy way to get a big wow. And fennel, this taste of fennel, if it's going to be very pervasive in this dressing. And it's what you want. If what we used here was about a teaspoon. If you're not a fennel lover and you want a little bit of this taste, only use half of that because it is a very pervasive taste. All right, it's smoking. These have darkened a bit. And I'm going to set those out there to cool, and we're going to move on to the rest of this. How am I doing on those? Okay, 2 minutes in on the tomatoes. We're good to go. So they're in the oven. They're just fine. All right, we've got our toasted fennel. The next thing that I would do normally, and thank you, Chef, for taking good care of me, would be to toast a little bit of bread. Now, just like everything else, the fresh tomato and everything else, good fresh bread is always going to get you the best results. So find some great fresh bread. If you don't have that, day-old bread works as well because it's getting a little hard and getting a little stiff, and that's just fine. You can use whatever you've got. Slice it up, tiny pieces. That's easier to work with. Again, you're not working with a football or a basketball here. You're working with a very small little container. Make them small. This makes it more variable or versatile when you get back into the dish. So all you need to do, this is what the chefs did here, was cube the bread, put it on a flat tray, pop it into the oven for just 5 minutes. And it firms up a little bit more, and you're ready to go. You don't want it to be really hard. It's going to get covered with dressing, and you want it to soak up a little bit of that, so you don't want it to be too terribly hard. So that would have been step 2. Step 3, moving on to the dressing. You guys know what this is? I love these things. When you can pull these out, this is really fun. Kitchen fun at its best, right? A mortar and pestle is a really cool tool. If you're lazy like me, sometimes you'll just get a fork and make the best of it. But with this thing, especially with these cumin seeds, the fennel seeds, and what you want to get out of it, you want to use the time-tested. You getting that there, Mike? You want to use this time-tested technique. You want to smash it. I don't know if you can smell that. Oh my goodness, the smell that comes out of there when you maybe it'll drift over to you, but. What you want to do is you're basically going to make dust. You're making fennel dust here, and that's what we want. We want it to be really fine. You don't need it to be, you don't want any graininess in there at all, okay? And what you're going to essentially do to start this dressing is you want a paste. You want to make a paste, and that's what we're going to do with the rest of these ingredients. A clove of garlic, and this one you can mash. And since we're using the mortar and pestle, I don't even have to dice that. I mean, I can, but but you can really use this, sort of like a caveman tool. So it's hard. It's not very new tech at all, but it sure works to get things ground up, and that's a terrific way to get this all finished. All right, so I've got garlic in there. I've got my seed, and the next thing is green onion. And we took a medium bunch of green onions, right? Chopped them up really fine into the mix. Same thing. And all this is just going to get back in there. It's going to mush all together. There's no fancy way to say that. It's going to mush. Let me see what this is. Whoops, wrong oven. All right, we're good in there. Again, if you're using a big soft tomato, you got to check that more often because, of course, it's going to sink even. It's going to cook very, very fast. So can you see that on the monitors up there? I don't know how close you can see that. It's not even really attractive at this point, but it does smell really good, and that's what we want. So it's the green onion, it's the garlic, and it's the fennel seed. And you do that as much as you need to do. Now, every once in a while in this mortar and pestle, especially some of these have little pits, like this sort of rough ones. Gather that up every once in a while and start over and see if you can't get it all get it all back into the mix. Now, that's not much of a dressing, but we're going to add the good stuff now to make it just so. And I better pull those babies out just so they don't go too far.
Scott, for those of us who might not have a caveman tool like this one, is this something you could do in a food processor?
You can, but then you get so much to clean. What are you going to do that for?
All those parts and pieces to clean.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's all. That food processors, they scare me.
But if you want to go a little more high tech,
yes, you could definitely. But if you're going to do that,
fear not, Googlers.
If you're going to do it, up your ingredient, like up your amounts just a little bit, because you'll
really
lose it.
get traction.
You'll lose it exactly. You'll double it or something, and then split it before you put it into the recipe. And of course, this is easy. If you're making this dressing, it's kind of wonderful. So I generally make a lot of it, and then use only what you need for this particular one, and save it for the rest of the whatever week, as long as whatever you got. And I think it'll be great. See how these have lightened just a little bit? You can see what's happened. They're warm to the touch. In fact, they're pretty soft. And that's exactly what you want. They can cool or not. It doesn't matter when you do this next step. It's going to be just fine. So to this beautiful mixture that I've now put in the, see how much you lose on those blades of that processor? See that? You lose so much. This is so much easier. But anyway, we're going to get the liquid portion. Olive oil, obviously part of every good salad dressing. So the olive oil goes in there. We've used about 3/4 of or 2 tablespoons, excuse me. And Worcestershire sauce, right? Right, chef? Easy for you to say. Just a tablespoon in there. That makes our dressing. Obviously, this is what's going to make it liquidy enough to put into our salad. Now it's still pretty pasty, and that's what you want. This is the point at which in here you go, how could that possibly be enough, right? Because it looks pretty small in there. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Just stick to those ingredients or to whatever ratio you've developed, and you'll be just fine. So yeah, it's even less attractive now, but it's going to taste really, really good. So it's all in there, and we're ready to go. And now we got to ready our arugula. We've used arugula in the base of this salad. This is approximately 4 cups, and all I'm going to do to this puppy dog is just lightly. I'm going to use a little bit more. All I'm going to do here is lightly chop. Because again, we're going into a small space, and some of these arugulas can be as wide as that tomato is, wide or more. So all you're going to do is you're going to chop it just a bit, rough chop, so that it'll fit better into that whole situation. All right. Now, got spinach in the garden? Use spinach. Works wonderfully in this. You got a favorite kale? You could even do that. So again, rules are rules, but they're pretty much made to be broken. So if you've got it, use it. And this is a recipe that can be really, really versatile for other things in your garden. All right, light chop. We're good to go. And we're going to put the arugula right there into a beautiful bowl. Now, we're going to go backwards a little bit, and we're going to grab the bread, right? The cubes that we got. I'm going to put in about half of this. Some people don't like you know, bread in their salads at all. Some people love it. Make it work. Make it work for you. Croutons are croutons. I like them, so we can put it. We can put a lot in there. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, and I'm going to add a little touch of salt, and I'm actually going to put a little salt in the dressing too, since I want that to be sharp enough, right? And then the last, we have 2 more ingredients to put in here. The last is, this is a crumbly goat cheese. Works perfectly. Feta works as well. We've used that before. The other day I made this for family with a great Humboldt, a great cowgirl creamy Humboldt, and it was amazing. Just be sure to chop it small. You don't want a big old hunk of cheese sitting in the middle of this tomato. So as long as you chop it small, it's going to be great, and it's going to mix in really, really well. So just a little bit of this. We're going to add this on top as well after this all gets done. Now, the part where I cheated, when I emptied out the tomatoes, again, if you buy a store-bought tomato, that's got so much core. It's a commercial variety that's, you know, they're fine. They're just a little different than what you're going to grow in your garden. But there's not much there to use, and I want to put tomatoes into the mix. So what I did was, we chopped up an heirloom. So we took that beautiful, this is an heirloom called Gold Medal. There's so many beautiful heirloom varieties, and I mean, come on. That's kind of amazing, right? So to get the most out of this thing, why would I want a, you know, industrial strength tomato with not much taste when I got this going on in the spring, or in the late spring and in the summer? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use about a handful. How's that for being exact? And if it's me, I'm using more just because I want more of that. And this is the base. This is a beautiful base of what's going on. So you're gonna put this in here and mix it up slightly, right, and make a complete mess. And this is where your salad dressing comes in. So claim all of that off the sides of the mortar and the pestle, and mix that puppy dog in there, just so. And like I said, you make this little mound of paste in there, and it sure doesn't look like a lot of dressing, but it goes a long way. So I tend to like a lot of dressing on salads. Again, your call. You can do whatever. You just want it glossy. You know, you just want it glossy. And this is so easy. You can do it with your fingers. You can make it, you know, have fun in the kitchen, play, get messy. And this is the base of this salad. Now, it's really great in these tomatoes when it's cooked, because the arugula will cook down a little bit, and it'll soften, and that's what we want. That's what we want to have happen. Dynamite salad, forgetting everything else. This is a really dynamite little mix for anything. A little side, a little, you know, anywhere you want to do that. So can you see how that's just glistening? It's just barely there. So it's not really wet, and we're ready to go. And this is where we go back to our initial cut tomato. Very simple. Guess what happens next? Right? You take all that beautiful mixture, you stuff it in there. All right? Some will come out more beautiful than others, and that's all right. And in the end, you guys, what we'll generally do when you plate this or whatever, you can put it in. What's really a really cool way to do this is in a mound of brown rice or like some wild rice or something. We just put it in there and set these puppies up so that they don't fall over. If you're using some varieties, you can use some varieties and even cut them on end so that you have a flatter profile. Where'd that other one go? And you're good to go. So this is going to go again. If I was being a little bit more spare here, we could get these through probably 6 to 8 tomatoes. So that's your pre-done tomato. And you can sometimes we'll add a little bit more goat cheese on the top here. I'm going to wait till the end to do that today, just so it doesn't totally melt all over everything, and it'll look a little puffy and fun and all of that up on top of everything. Turn the oven down to about 350 so you don't scorch these, which isn't that much difference, but it does make a difference in the end. And you only want these in for just a few minutes. If you put them in when the tomatoes are warm, you can really do just a couple minutes and you're pretty good. You want to keep a watch. You want to keep an eye on it and make sure that the arugula should be all wet, right? It should be all sort of have the olive oil all over it. It shouldn't be scorching, but you don't want it to look like yesterday's news. So you want it softening just a bit, and then you're kind of raring to go. You're raring to go. While that's in there, anybody got any questions about tomatoes in general, growing them? Who's got them in the garden? I know a lot of you do. What are you thinking? What can I help you with? Because at this point in the season, we're at midpoint in the tomato season now. There's lots of things, funny-looking things on leaves, and all over the place that that are there. Do you have a curly top question over there?
Well, what's the question?
How long will tomatoes last in
yeah.
the garden? What a great question. Thank you, Eva. Tomatoes last in the garden as long as you plan for them to last. And that's the bottom line. There's a strategy involved with growing tomatoes. Did you ever develop one of those? Come on, you guys know about strategy. You know about this. Well, there's a strategy in the tomato garden too. If you want a long season, you start right at the cusp, right at the beginning of the first available time, right? When the nighttime, and this is a foul one, because our nighttime temperatures above 55 degrees is what we should be doing, but that never really happens until way late in the season. But when your daytime temperatures are remarkable enough, high enough so that it makes sense, for most of you guys, that would be when, Eva, you probably plant early April, early to mid-April. Well, if you're me in Southern California, we can be in March 1st. And it really depends on where you live. So you pay attention to that, plant at the cusp of the season. Then wait 2 weeks, plant again. So don't plant all your tomatoes at once, plant 3, leave a little space. Plant 3 2 weeks later, plant 3 3 weeks later, and plant another couple a month after that. That way you've got a staggered situation that will help you because you don't have all your tomatoes come in at once, right? That's a good thing. But those later tomatoes, because they generally will start to grow and flower in the highest heat of the season, probably won't produce much then. They'll relax. But they'll be really strong as the other ones are doing this. They'll be really strong as fall temps are cooling, and they'll come back up and should flower and fruit for you again. So that's a really good question. It's all about what the gardener decides. You can decide to have a really quick short season, or you can decide to have a really great long season, and all your neighbors will be jealous. Why would one tomato get something that the other one doesn't? Well, why is one of us cold right now and the other one's really warm? I mean, that's kind of what it gets to. You know, you look down a row of tomatoes in our test fields. Tomatomania test fields are full of things that we can't really figure out because you got a row of 25 tomatoes and two are doing fine, the next two doing okay, the next one died. That's how it happens. It's kind of an amazing thing. I was telling the story today. That's the one thing that sort of awful pesticides fixed. You know, you killed everything, and so everything does well. Well, we don't love that so much anymore. And it is what happens. Even the same varieties. We test grow the same varieties down a row. You see the same things happening.
Like natural selection in the tomato community?
That. And we were talking this morning. Where did the seed come from? How is it planted? What's going on in that soil versus that soil? We never know. Back to these real quickly, guys. That is a finished product. Now you see how light that tomato is. That's also how kind of orangey it got. That's also a product of what kind of a tomato it is. That actually got scorched a little bit much. I was chatting too much, but look, this is a beautiful thing that you can use for, again, just a little side, a little appetizer, or a big appetizer if you choose to if you choose. Imagine that version of that would be pretty great. And in this one, you could actually scoop it out and use the inside because it's so delicious and nice and soft because it's a big, beautiful heirloom. And this is probably one of the pink Germans. I'm not sure. This one wasn't labeled. But probably one of the pink German Queen. There's a host of beautiful German heirlooms and heirlooms from all over Europe that kind of run in this category. And they're stupendous and tasty and amazing. Yes? Heirlooms came into vogue in the last 10 years. What's so funny is that my Tomatomania team and I sat down in 2001 after 10 years of doing this event, and we said, is heirloom over? You know, are heirlooms just done? And I guess we didn't have to worry about that because it's only gotten bigger. Do you know the difference between heirlooms and hybrids? It's all about the seed. It's all about the seed. An heirloom is true from seed. If I grow this and it's a German Queen, an heirloom, if I grow it this year and I save seed correctly, and I keep that seed, healthy and dry, I can plant it out next season, I get the same tomato. That's not true of your hybrids that we have today. Not for no other reason than the seed is not stable. A hybrid, like a Sun Gold, the world's most famous and favorite tomato, little orange cherry, which you've all had, beautiful. But if you save that seed, you've got a 33% shot of getting Sun Gold next year. Which for some people isn't bad, but hey, why don't you buy the real seed? And then, it's planned obsolescence is what a hybrid is. That's what it is. And that's the only difference. You could stabilize that seed over 7 to 9 generations, and then you effectively have an heirloom because it will be true from seed. That's the difference. And heirlooms tell us a story. We love them because they're big and beautiful and not so perfect like a lot of us, right? And they do. They have a lot of lore and a little bit more story to them, and we like that. That's not to say that hybrids aren't. We love our hybrids. Hybrids are made to be strong, productive, disease resistant. Find something wrong in that category. There isn't anything. They're terrific. So we like to embrace all that. And especially if you're a new gardener, grow hybrids. Become successful. That's really what we want out of my event more than anything else. We want you to be successful. So start with hybrids and learn how to do it. Get it right. And then try the crazy ones, just, And if you have a crazy big yard, try as much as you want. That's good. Yes? How do you propagate those? How do you propagate? You can do it. You can obviously propagate tomatoes seed to seed if you're propagating this way. But you can cut and root a stem of a tomato very easily. The stems are hairy, and all of those hairs turn into roots very, very quickly. So if you'll take a 7 to 8, you can even let one of the little side branches grow that grows in the middle of the leaf and the stem right there. Wait till it gets 7, 8 inches long. Put it in a glass of water for 4 or 5 days, a week, whatever. Pop it out into the garden. Cover it for a while and keep it a little moist. It'll look like it'll bitch and moan and be all look bad for a while, and it's going to come back just fine and be great. So they're tough, and that's actually, talk about a long season. You find a favorite tomato, take cuttings of that plant and put it in your garden down underneath the mother. You'll have it as long as you have it, as long as the weather allows. And that's a beautiful way to lengthen your season and be a real gardener too, right? Because that's a real gardener thing there. All right, anybody else? You mean if you're cooking with it? Oh gosh, well you can totally use it. Look, you can use it in this recipe. I'm just being funny because I use these today because I like the way they keep their shape and they're firmer. You can totally do it with this. You can absolutely do it with that. You just have to be careful not to, it's a little fun, you're going to get into those lobes and it's kind of harder to clean out, number one. And you just have to leave a little bit more skin, a little bit more width on the outside. And it'll do just fine. But you do have to watch it because they're softer from the get-go and they'll shrink and just kind of fall apart on you. So that's the only thing. Because I want you to use every piece of it. But I didn't mean to, I just wanted to caution you. And I think those look kind of cool, given their nice little round little boats. But you can always do it with this. You can always do it with that. Other questions? Yes? Oh, green tomatoes. How do you use green tomatoes? They're great in a salsa. They're really, really good in a salsa. Or a salsa, we've done all sorts of things with that, mixed with tomatillos and doing a whole green theme. I've heard of people making green tomato ketchup. Right? Cook it down, soften it up. It doesn't taste like red tomato ketchup, I'll tell you that much. But it's interesting and it's different. And so I think the salsas are probably your best way to go. They're much like this, only green. I mean, the store-bought varieties, right? So you have to probably cook them a little bit longer, all of that. But they're.
Do they taste good like this?
I don't know that they would. I mean, frankly, it's going to be a vessel that's unfinished. So it might, it's going to have a taste. Just overdo these elements a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, a little bit more zing. You can eat it. You'll be fine with it. Yeah, I think it would be great. Is it okay to put cooked spinach and tomatoes together? I do it all the time. I'm still standing here. No, I think it's fine. And again, you're not cooking. You're really warming here, right? All you're doing is kind of having it sink down into that boat a little bit, and so that you get this finished product. That's really what you're doing. And I didn't put goat cheese on top of there. Doggone! I was going to do that while it was warm. So that's the finishing touch on these. I totally forgot that. And there you are. But I think you'll be fine with that. And like kale, kale's a little tougher. You might have to cook that a little longer. Warm it a little longer, and you'll be fine. Okay? Anybody else? Other questions? Yes, sir. How do you eat tomatoes in winter? You don't? I think with lots of seasoning, or, put them in the freezer. Hey, hello.
Or can.
Tomatoes, huh?
Or can them?
Can them. You could totally can them. You can freeze a tomato just like that. Open your freezer door, put it in one of those bins, and close the freezer door. Done. And I'm serious. As you thaw this baby, the skins sort of fall off. Boom, that's one icky job done, right? You don't have to blanch and do all that mess anymore. Seriously, stack them in one corner of your freezer, and they're ready for you when you want. Now, you can't make a salad out of that when you thaw it out, right? But you can make a really nice sauce. It locks in the flavors, right? And it works exceedingly well. And I don't know if you've ever heard of tomato water. Tomato water for cocktails, tomato water for some recipes. It's basically the clear liquid the gel and the liquid that's inside of there that drains out if we were to cut it. If you use tomato water and you have a frozen tomato, it's the most glorious thing. You pop that in a bowl or something frozen, and you make a few slits around the bottom. The tomato melts, and you get this beautiful, clear, perfect, unsullied tomato water. That's killer. So if you use that, that's a great way to use a frozen tomato. But yeah, seriously, just throw it in the freezer. you're done, and you will have it all season long. Just not that, not that great one you're going to go sort of bite into and enjoy the way we do in the summer, right? Yes? Remove the seeds when you're cooking a tomato?
Yeah.
Some people have trouble with that, with seeds in their diet, right, because of gastro issues. So you can. I don't. I never remove the seeds in anything. I really don't. And frankly, I like the skins. There's a lot of nutrition right under the skin. So when you remove the skin of the tomato, you're kind of removing a good bit of what you really want in there anyway. So I think it's a really, I'll puree something. If the skins bother me, I'll just puree it all, and that way you get all that good stuff. And I hope you enjoy that. So I think it's a good thing. I don't bother, but some people do. Some people, people who know a lot more than me about taste say that the seed, that umami that we get in a tomato, is critical. It's critical to eat the seed and to get that whole, the whole realm of flavor. So there you go. Yeah, I don't leave them out. Mostly because I'm kind of lazy and I don't want to, do that. But when I get umami on the top of it, I'm pretty good. All right. Anybody else? Other questions? Yes. How do you harvest for next season? How do you save a seed? Pretty simple stuff. You take a tomato and you do this, right? And you get some seeds, or you get seeds in pulp in a small clear cup or bowl, right? And you get about a half an inch, and you let that sit outside for 3 days, and it begins to ferment. You want to ferment the seed because the fermentation process causes all that gel, which is an inhibitor, to go away. So now the seed is bare. After 3 or 4 days, it's sitting in that gook for 3 or 4 days. You put it under the faucet and run it around. The good seed will sink to the bottom, and the bad seed floats. Pour that off with the pulp, and keep doing that until you have only seed. Pour it off, dry it out, put it in an envelope or some kind of a canister with a Kleenex or some sort of a desiccant that will take up any excess moisture or extra moisture, and you're off to the races. Store it in a cool place. You can have them for 10, 15 years. They can be viable for 10, 15 years. Eva? Where else should you find heirloom seeds? Well, you could Google it, probably. I think you could find, if you find heirlooms, you can find heirloom seeds everywhere. But yeah, thanks to Google, we can find heirloom seeds all over the place. From the tiniest of suppliers who are doing 2 varieties that they're really, enamored of, to Tomato Fest, that's out of Monterey, Carmel, right? And they have 600 varieties. 600 varieties of seeds. Lots of information for you, lots of good things that you can learn. So all over the place. Tomato Fest, Seed Savers, there's a slew of wonderful people who are working hard to keep all these great heirlooms alive, right? And to keep them in the marketplace and keep them viable. And we're thankful for that. So yes, plenty of places to get good seed. All right? Plant food or fertilizer for tomatoes, mix it up. Use a good soil amendment so that you're feeding with the medium you plant in, right? Use a compost tea. Use a granular that's balanced. You want it balanced. You want the numbers on that fertilizer bag to be more similar than they are disparate, right? And change it up. Do something different so that you're giving them a wide spectrum of things. Or if you have to, just use that one balanced product that somebody's already mixed for you. So it matters not, the key thing about fertilizer is to use it. It doesn't matter what kind it is. A lot of us buy fertilizer and put it in the shed, and there it stays all season long, and that's the end of that, right? Why didn't my tomatoes work? Buy it and use it. That's how it works. And you guys, if you've never done foliar feeding is a terrific way to feed tomatoes. It basically is any solution, whether it's fish emulsion, it's all nitrogen, so careful. Fish emulsion, compost tea, any of that you can actually spray on the leaves as well as soak the roots with. And it takes it up both ways, and the tomato is hugely efficient at using fertilizer that's been put on the leaves. Okay?
The topsy-turvy hanging upside down tomato plants?
Ooh, the topsy-turvy. Do you know this one? The little tiny, here's my problem. The little tiny container that you're going to grow a tomato in, right? I get 50% of people saying thumbs up and 50% of people saying thumbs down. If you're a really good gardener and very on top of it, and you have a sprinkler system that you can drip it and all that, yeah, they can be successful. And you don't put them in all day sun, for goodness sakes, because it's a tiny container. It can work. Choose the right tomato and be on top of it. You'll be just fine. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. It's been such a blast being here and seeing a little bit of where you live, and that's really awesome. Keep up the good work in the garden, and I feel like I should say thank you for being at the center of the universe is kind of cool, and I like that. So
thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jenna. Thanks, everybody.